Okay, I feel like we need to do one more just to get the idea here. So I'm going to turn this one into a matrix. So let's go 2. So let's go 2, 3, 1, -5, -9, 3, -2, 4, -6, -13. 5, -3, 4, -8, -21. Okay, so we have 4 unknowns with 3 variables. So this is going to have an infinite amount of solutions. So I want to try to get a diagonal of 1s right there. Okay, well, I'm taking a look at this. How about I go row 2 minus row 1 and put that in row 1. That will take 3 minus 2. Okay, so 3 minus 2 is going to be 1. -2 minus 3 will be -5. 4 minus 1 will be 3. -6 minus -5, so -6 plus 5, -1. And row 2, -13 minus -9, so -13 plus 9, -4. And then I'm just going to put the other ones in. Okay, so now I need to get this one to be a 0. So I'll just take row 1 times -3 and add that to row 2 and stick it into row 2. Okay, so that'll be -3 plus 3. Well, first I'm going to go ahead and put the top row in there. -1, -5, 3, -1, and a -4. And now I'm going to do it. Okay, -3 plus 3, 0. -3 times so that'll be 15 plus -2. Multiply this by -3, that'll be -9 plus 4. Then -3 times this one will be 3 plus -6 will be -3. And -3 times that will be 12 plus -13 is -1. And then row 3 goes with it. Okay, now I want this one to become 0. So I'll take the row 1 times -5 and add row 3. Stick that in row 3. Okay. So row -5 plus 5, 0. Let me put the top rows in there. 1, -5, 3, -1 at -4, 0, 13, -5, -3 at -1. Okay, now I'm doing it. So this times -5 plus 5, 0. This times -5 will be 25 plus -3, so 22. This times -5 will be -15 plus 4, so -11. And this times -5 will be 5 plus -8, -3. And this times -5 is 20, plus -21 is -1. Okay, now I need this spot right here to be a 1, so I'm going to divide this row by 13. Okay, so the top one, I have a 1, -5, 3, -1 at -4. Row 2, so I'm dividing this by 13. So 13 divided by 13 is 1. -5 divided by 13 will be -5 thirteenths. -3 divided by 13 will be -3 thirteenths, and -1 divided by 13 will be -1 thirteenths. And then the third column, 0, 22, -11, -3, and -1. Okay, now I would like this spot right here to be 0. So how about we take -22 times row 2 and add row 3. Put that in row 3. Okay, so the row 3 is changing, so row 1 is still the same. Row 2 is still the same. Row 3, okay, so I'm taking 22 times this plus this, so 0. Taking -22 times 1 plus 22, so 0. Okay, now we got one that's not going to be 0. So I'm taking row 2, so I need to take this times -22 and add -11. So I would just put that in my calculator. -22 times 5/13 plus -11 is -33/13. Okay, then I need -22 times this plus -3. So -22 times -3/13 plus -3 is 27/13. Just do that on your calculator. Okay, then I need -22 times -1/13 plus -1. Doing that on my calculator, it's 9/13. Okay, so the only thing I have left to do is to get this diagonal. I got a 1, I need this diagonal right here, so I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to take row 3 and multiply it by -13/33s and put that back in row 3. Okay, so I'm going to take this times -13/33, well, that's still 0, that's still 0. So let me get caught up with where I'm at. So I have a 1, -5, 3, -1, which is a -4. I have a 0, a 1, a -5/13, a -3/13, and a -1/13, and I've got a 0. So this one times -13/33 is 0. This one times -13/33 is 0. So now I need this one times -13/33 is 1. And now this one times -13/33 is -9/11. Put that in your calculator, it's -9/11. And then I need this one times -13/33, typing that in, -3/11. Okay, right here is what I want. We've got this. Okay, so I've got it because I've got this diagonal. I got all of the ones. That's as much of a diagonal as we're going to get. So now let's remember what all these were. This was the A, this was the B, this was the C, and this was the D, and these were the solutions over here. Okay, so right there's the C. Okay, so I've got 1C minus 9/11 D equals -3/11. It equals this one. That's what those three numbers represent now from up here. Okay, well, let's just solve that. It's already solved for C, so some of the other ones I substituted in a K just to get a different letter and solve it for D. It literally does not matter which one you solve it for. So I think maybe this one, I'll just, since it's almost solved for C, I think I will just solve for C. So I'll say C equals, I'm just going to move the 9/11 D to the other side. So I already have a -3/11, and then this -9/11 will become +9/11 D. Okay, there's the C value completed. That means I've got to get B equals something, something, something with a D in it, and A equals something, something, something with a D in it. So I can just pick D. So then A, if I choose a D, I can have an answer for A and a B and a C. So I need to get the other ones solved so that they have D in it. Okay, where do I have some more room here? I'll come down a little bit. Okay, so right here's the B variable. Right there's the B. That's 1B, and C and D equals an answer. So I'm going to write that one out over here. Do that one in blue. Okay, so I've got a B, 1B. That was this, plus negative 5/13 C. I'll just say minus 5/13 C. And there's the D value, negative 3/13. So minus 3/13 D equals this one. See, I just did this row, so it's going to equal negative 1/13. Okay, well, I know what C is. I have it up here, so I'm going to substitute that one in there. So I have B equals negative 5/13 times C, which is negative 3/11 plus 9/11 D. That's this part. Minus 3/13 D equals negative 1/13. Okay, let's go ahead and multiply this in and see what we have. So I have B equals negative 5/13. I'm just going to type this in on my calculator as we go. So I have negative 5/13 times negative 3/11 gives us 15/143. So plus 15/143. Now negative times a positive will be minus. So I need 5/13 times 9/11. That's going to be 45/143. D minus 3/13 D equals negative 1/13. Okay, I'm going to subtract that over to the other side. So I need negative 1/13, subtract 15/143. Gives me negative 2/11. Okay, now I would like to put these D's together right here. So those D's going together, so I need negative 45/143 minus 3/13. Is negative 6/11 D. So of course I want that to be over there, and now I have B. So B is negative 2/11 plus 6/11 D. Now I need A, so right here will be A. Now I'm going to scroll, maybe I can scroll over. Do I have over space? Okay, that did a pretty good job. Get rid of whatever that was. Okay, so let's do this one right here. I need this one right here. Okay, well, let's see what that is. That would be 1A minus 5B minus 3C minus D equals negative 4. And I'll just go plug in all of those things. So I have A minus 5 times b, which I have down here. So here's the b, negative 2/11 plus 6/11 d, minus 3 times c, which is right here, negative 3/11 plus 9/11 d, minus d equals negative 4. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to multiply in this 5 right here. So let's see if I can put all this stuff together without making a mistake. A equals negative 5 times 2/11 will be 10/11. Plus negative 5 times 6 will be negative 30/11 d. So there's those two. Now I'm going to take this negative 3 into this one. So negative 3 times 3/11 will be positive 9/11. Plus negative 3 times that one will be negative 27/11 d. And then right here I have a minus d equals negative 4. Okay, can we put them all together? Whoop, I see I made a mistake way up here. That c was a plus right off the beginning. That should be plus, which means this 3 times, this was a plus 3 right there. So that should end up have been a minus 9/11. Okay, I'm going to put this in my calculator. 10/11 minus 9/11, so that's 1/11. So these two numbers are 1/11, and I'll subtract it to the other side. So I need this negative 4 minus 1/11 is 45/11. So over here we've got negative 45/11. Now I'm going to try to put together the d values. So again, this positive 3 times 9 would have made this a positive 27d right there. So I've got a negative 30/11 plus a 27/11 d, so that's negative 3/11 minus 1, which would be 11/11. I'll just put it in my calculator. I got negative 3/11 minus 1 is 14/11 over here. So all of these d's are 14/11 d, which I want to move to the other side. So it will be minus 14/11 d. And this side still has the a on it. So there's my a. Okay, so here's our whole thing. I'm going to see if I can move up to the original problem now and just write down what I've got out of all that. Okay, so for question number 3, I have A was negative 45/11 plus 14/11 d. The B term was negative 2/11 plus 6/11 d. The C term was negative 3/11 plus 9/11 d. And then the D term is just d. That's the relationship of all the millions of values that should make this true. We can now pick any d we want that should make all of those true. For example, I'm going to pick 3. So the only way that you can actually tell if you have it right, you can check my answers, but I might have different solutions than you have now. So the only way to see if you have them right is to pick something in C. So an easy one to pick is d equals 0. Because if I stick a 0 right here, this whole thing is 0, and it's just negative 45/11. And this makes 0, so it's just that. And that's 0, and then that's 0. So if I pick 0, that's an easy one to get values for. So if d is 0, that means A is negative 45/11. B is negative 2/11. C is negative 3/11, and D is 0. Now, I can't get a calculator on this little screen here, but I'm going to take a second and check it. I'm going to stick I'm going to actually put it in. 2 times negative 45 elevenths plus 3 times negative 2 elevenths plus negative 3 elevenths plus 5 times 0, and see if that equals negative 9. And it does. And then if I put those values into A, B, C, and D right there, they equal negative 13. And if I also put them in A, B, C, and D, they also equal negative 21. This is a legitimate set of answers that make all 3 of these equations work. But it's only one of infinity kind. What if D equals 0? Not 0, I just did 0. What if D equals 1? Okay, well then this piece up here, this piece right here is negative 45 elevenths plus 14 elevenths times 1. That makes it negative 34 elevenths. So that's another possibility. Negative 34 elevenths could have been A. If I stick 1 right here, this would be 2 elevenths plus negative 2 elevenths plus 6 elevenths. So 4 elevenths. If I stick 1 right here, that'd be negative 3 elevenths plus 9 elevenths. So that's 6 elevenths. And then D would be 1. Okay, that's another set of answers that if I put them in the originals, 2 times the A, times that one, and times that one, they also add up to negative 9. I'm going to go check that on my calculator just to make sure. Okay, whoops, I went and checked and it did not equal negative 9, so I got something wrong, and now when I take a look at it, it's always my addition. Okay, look up here. Negative 45 plus 14 is not 34, it's 31. So that should be 31 elevenths. Now I'm going to plug them in and check it. Okay, now it equals negative 9, and when I put them right here, 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 and here, it equals negative 13, and here, 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 and here equals negative 21. Now I'm going to show you in another video how to pick better D's so that we get like nice clean answers. See, when I picked 1, it got a bunch of fractions. I picked 0, got a bunch of fractions. What if I picked 4? If I stick 4 and put it in the D right there, and right there, and right there, and right there, the answer ends up being 1 for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, and 4 for D. So there's the very first really nice clean value. And yes, if you stick those in, A, B, C, and D, they end up being negative 9. When you put it in the second one, they end up being negative 13 and negative 21. So that's all really good evidence that this is the relationship. So it's this that we're looking for. It's the relationship, and then you can pick a variable. You can pick this last one to get actual solutions.